Hello, today is Thursday, August 22nd, 2024. I'm Sarah Crafassi from LB3, and this is Staying Connected. I'm joined today by Tony Mangino from TC2, and we're going to be continuing the discussion of the evolving role of broadband internet service in enterprise networks. In particular, we're going to take a closer look at the business case for broadband and how enterprise customers can capitalize on the transformational opportunity. So, Tony, why are enterprise customers increasingly looking to leverage broadband in their networks?
Hey, Sarah, it's nice to be on the other side of the microphone for once. You're spot on that enterprise customers are increasingly turning to broadband internet services as a viable means to deliver connectivity at a compelling price point. It's worth understanding first, though, how we got here and how broadband fits into the evolution of networking. Like they say, it's about the journey. So when customers began deploying SD-WAN solutions, the network transport underlay was primarily MPLS with some high-capacity dedicated internet access, DIA ports, sitting at their data centers. Now, all things considered, MPLS is great, but it's expensive. So then add into the cost of the transport underlay the one-time costs associated with actually deploying the SD-WAN solution, including truck rolls to all the branches, technician time, and then add into that the ongoing cost of the appliance, software licenses, etc. What large enterprise customers realized pretty quickly was their SD-WAN business case was tenuous at best. While there may have been observable improvement in data transfer efficiency and application performance with SD-WAN, it was coming at a net cost to the business. One of the selling points of SD-WAN, perhaps the key selling point, is that it is transport agnostic. So that's to say that the solution will select the best path for data transmission based on service and circuit performance and application policies and prioritization.
All right, thanks for that walk down memory lane. But when do we get to the cost savings part?
So we're getting there. The key to shoring up the SD-WAN business case was identifying viable replacement transport technologies for that expensive legacy MPLS. The first step in that evolution was, for example, swapping out an MPLS circuit for a DIA circuit at sites that were dual-threaded. This delivered higher bandwidths at a lower cost per megabit and usually at a lower total cost overall. The next step was to transform away from MPLS to what is referred to as an Internet First strategy for remote site connectivity. Until recently, Internet First mostly meant DIA. Now, there are two certainties in enterprise networking, and no, it's not death and taxes, but it's the need for more bandwidth and for cost savings. That reality is a key driver in what we're seeing now at TC2 as really a strategic shift to deploying broadband internet service in the network. It's not uncommon to see reductions in the range of 40+% for broadband service over DIA, and the delta is even greater when you're comparing broadband service to legacy MPLS. And that's in the US. Now, outside of the US, the opportunity can be even greater, particularly where you have MPLS service, say, from AT&T or Verizon, as opposed to an in-country or in-region provider. Broadband, both wired and fixed wireless, also benefit from more favorable regulatory treatment in the US, which translates into a lower TCO as the service is not subject to USF, which this quarter exceeds 34%. Now, it's worth mentioning that most, but not all suppliers don't assess USF on the local access portion of a DIA connection, which also drives cost savings when compared to MPLS. This is an important distinction, as when USF is applied to the local access portion of an MPLS service, there are additional supplier-specific surcharges that are then added to the cost. For example, federal regulatory fees, property tax allotment, things like that taken in total can add another 10% on top of the cost of the local access. Now, there are nuances in all this, of course, but you get the picture.
Yeah, it's an expensive picture. So are you saying that enterprise customers should go rip out their entire legacy networks and replace them with broadband?
No, not exactly. Enterprise customers should definitely be looking at broadband where a site needs additional connectivity to complement an existing MPLS or DIA circuit, for example. However, depending on the site type, application stack, and geography, there are likely sites in your environment where a high-capacity broadband circuit or circuits can become the primary source of connectivity. Now, fixed wireless also features prominently in the broadband internet conversation, typically as a secondary or tertiary connection in a device with dual SIMs that can be spun up relatively quickly and cost-effectively. It's no surprise that suppliers are investing heavily in upgrading both their wired broadband and fixed wireless networks to meet the demand.
Well, this all sounds pretty compelling to me so far, but could you tell me about some of the obstacles, mostly from a cost perspective, that an enterprise customer might encounter along this journey?
Well, probably the most significant issue is the potential for special construction costs. The reality is that wired broadband is going to be available in most cases from whoever the local exchange carrier or LEC is in the area where your site resides. And that LEC has already built out its network that will, in all likelihood, come near or at least pass your site. Even where you're buying broadband from the LEC, there may be an additional cost to actually pull circuitry through existing conduit and into your facility. There's also a chance that some trenching or other installation costs might be incurred. Now, a viable alternative to the LECs are the cable companies, most notably Comcast and Cox, that also have significant footprint that may align with your site needs. The cable cos are also aggressively pursuing the enterprise market and can be a cost-effective means of providing carrier-diverse broadband site connectivity. The most effective way now of mitigating the potential impact of special construction is to source your broadband requirements utilizing a competitive RFP process. That way, you can make sure to have the right supplier and technology mix based on your requirements and your footprint, bidding on your opportunity. At TC2, we've been successful in negotiating upfront waiver pools, either per site or as a percentage of the overall deal value, as a mechanism to offset the potential impact of special construction costs. Supplier willingness to offer financial assistance to improve the overall deal economics is really amplified in the competitive context of an RFP. You also need to find out if there are additional costs for things like broadband terminating equipment, static IP, as well as other more service management oriented charges such as broadband billing consolidation.
All right. Thanks, Tony. This is all really good stuff. Any parting thoughts?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I'd say that there's a lot more ground to cover on the subject of broadband and the enterprise WAN. Our listeners should keep an eye and an ear out for upcoming episodes of Staying Connected, where we'll be discussing the shift in the commercial model and supplier mix for broadband, as well as an entire discussion specifically focused on a deep dive into broadband internet technologies.
All right, great discussion today. Thank you again, Tony. And if you have questions or you'd like to learn more about how to leverage the use of broadband in your WAN, or if you have other ICT needs, please contact Tony, me, or any of our TC2 or LB3 colleagues by giving us a call or sending us an email. And of course, you can also stay current by subscribing to our Staying Connected podcast series, by checking our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.